Welcome to a Talk the Catch podcast. Today we've got Chris Sparks here from Fishing with CJ. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi there.
So, you do a lot of boat fishing.
Yeah, fair amounts.
And a bit of shore fishing.
Shore fishing, bit of course, bit of piking, that sort of stuff.
When did you first start your fishing journey?
Well, I guess as long as I can remember, I've been catching fish. I was, as a 6-year-old, was down the River Pin in northwest London catching sticklebacks in a net. So that's kind of where I started out, and then from about the same age, we used to go to Cornwall each year for our holidays, and I'd spend most of the holiday down in the rock pools catching fish. It's a bit like the eyeballs in the sky. I don't know if you're familiar with the Perishers. Used to be a cartoon strip in the Daily Mirror.
No, I don't think so.
Quite a long time ago. I think it was the late 50s when they started it. And it was like the British version of Peanuts.
Yeah.
Well, every year for a week, the cartoon strip was based around their holidays. They'd go down to a beach somewhere, and each day during this week there'd be some sort of a story. But a theme that was running through this story was Boot, their dog. They had a dog. It was, as I say, it's very like Peanuts, but their dog was an English sheepdog, and this English sheepdog Boot would vanish for the whole of the holiday. And what they didn't know was that he would spend the whole holiday looking into a rock pool watching the crabs.
Yeah.
And there were episodes in this week's of the holiday all about the crabs. So it was a kind of a backstory. And the crabs worshipped him as a god.
Okay. Worshipped a dog, okay.
They were, no, because he was the eyeballs in the sky, you see.
Okay, yeah.
And every year the eyeballs in the sky would return, and the crabs would worship him. And I can remember there was one thing that went through it. I think they were late going on holiday one year, and all of the crabs were turning upon the priest, saying it's a fake god. There's no eyeballs in the sky, and it's all false. And then they turned up a week late, and the eyeballs in the sky. Well, that was me in Cornwall each year fishing in these rock pools. I think the fish and the little crabs that lived in these pools.
You're saying you're a dog, Chris? Is that?
No, I'm the eyeballs in the sky.
You're the eyeballs in the sky.
I'm the eyeballs in the sky. Yeah.
Excellent.
And then from that, I progressed to going out on charter boats down in Cornwall again, very young, probably 8, 10, something like that. We used to go out with a guy called Tommy Morrissey, who had a boat called Girl Maureen, based in Padstow, and we go mackerel fishing. And if anybody watching this is from that part of the world, they will have known or heard of Tommy Morrissey, because he was a bit of a legend in his own lunch break, I think. And in fact, the last video I've just done, I was fishing in the Padstow estuary, and I inserted a little bit of video footage from 1960. Whenever, yeah. Wow. Yeah, of me, my sister, and my gran out on this boat fishing for mackerel.
Amazing.
Just as a sort of as an aside.
Back when you were there, then as a kid, could you almost guaranteed a fish then? Because now it's not quite. Do you feel like it was easier back then than it was maybe now?
No, I think that's a bit of a misapprehension. I think the fish are there still. Maybe not in the numbers, I don't know, but. Certainly the techniques are much better now than they were then. So all the years that I've fished sea fishing, I've not really noticed it being worse now than then, really. Different species. Some of the species that were there, like the cod runs and what have you. I moved down to Sussex in the late 80s and lived right next to the beach in Seaford. And they used to say then there was like a 9-year cycle of cod, and so on the 9th year there'd be a really good season of cod, and then it would tail off for 9 years and then gradually get better and better, and then the cod will be back again. And there's cod now. The people are catching cod off the beach at the moment. We've had a few years where there weren't many.
The last 2 years have actually been better than. Well, I first moved down here and I couldn't remember anyone catching any for the first few years, and now there's quite a few actually.
Yeah, no, there's cod. I mean, I took young Harvey Plumstead out on my boat about 2 weeks ago, just for a couple of hours of just basically trolling around, see what we could pick up, and he picked up quite a nice codling on a lure on a reef. We weren't even on a wreck or anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think it goes round and comes round. Now, there's fish that we're catching now off the shore that you would never have caught back then. I don't remember dogfish coming off the beach. I don't remember thornback rays coming off the Sussex beaches. Conger eels coming off the beach. But there's plenty of those now.
Yeah, you can't stop them sometimes, can you?
Well, small eels, strappy eels, but I mean, they're repopulating the wrecks that all got fished out. Back in the early 80s, back in the days when we took everything we caught. But I think there are conger eels starting to show up on the wrecks again. Yeah,
we've had to be fair, I've not fished for them that much this year, but when we have gone, they have been there.
Yeah,
last few years we've had some nice ones. So
I've probably had half a dozen this year. Nothing monstrous, 20-pounders, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So your childhood was more sort of starting off on charter boats. We're going to keep this podcast boat related, if you don't mind. Boat fishing, if that's okay. Yeah. So I'll ask you sort of when did you first get your first ever fishing boat?
I moved down here from London in 1989, and my first boat was a little beach boat. I can't even remember where I got it from, but it was a little 10-foot long fiberglass boat with a little seagull engine on the back of it.
Oh, they were great, those little things. I've got a few people who've still got them. Actually. Yeah.
And I could drag it down the beach on my own, and with a lot of effort and grunt, I could get it back up the beach on my own.
Yes, the back up, yeah.
Yeah. So that was my first boat. I had some quite good success. I used to go trolling for bass with it, so I go out just popping along with it.
Was this East Sussex? Was it?
Yeah, Seaford. Yeah. Just chugging along underneath Seaford Head, up to the Seven Sisters and back, or out by the West Arm at New Haven. Just popping along with a lure on the end of a reasonably long rod, lying across the boat, my feet up on one side and my back on the other side, and with the rod between my knees. And as soon as you hit a fish, you had to kill the engine, and there was no cutout. There was no switch to switch the engine off. The only way you could stop the engine was to put your hand over the inlet on the carburettor.
Yeah, wow.
And stall the engine.
Excellent.
And then play the fish. And I had bass up to £8 doing that.
That's pretty good, really. Yeah. How old were you then?
How old was I?
That's roughly. Were you sort of late teens or early?
No. I was because I came down here in '89. I'm 70 now, so I'm 70 next birthday. So
yeah.
I would have been in my 30s.
Mm. Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah, so still, you've been boat fishing for a long time then.
Yeah.
Best part of 40 years, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I got my first boat would have been about 1989. Would have been that boat. So how many years ago is that now? 89. So 33, 34 years. No, 34 years ago.
Yeah. Would you when you were using that boat, were you always thinking, I can't wait to get a bigger one, or were you just at the time enjoying it? And
no, I was enjoying it. And you the reality of finance. There was I had no aspirations to be in bigger boats. If I wanted to go out on a bigger boat, I'd go out on a charter. I had quite a good mate, a guy called Jeff Drew, who had a charter boat out of New Haven called Sea Breeze, and he partnered up with Terry Lee. Terry Lee's still going. Terry Lee's got a boat in Brighton Marina now. Sea Breeze 3, I think it is now.
I was going to say, I thought there was a Sea Breeze in Brighton, isn't there still? Yeah.
Yeah, well, it started out. I mean, back then it was Jeff Drew had Sea Breeze, and Terry Lee had at the Admiral Benbow, or the Admiral Ben, something like that. And then they partnered up and got Sea Breeze 2, I think.
Nice. What sort of stuff did you go and catch on the charter boats then?
I was big into conger eel fishing back then. That was my big aspiration, was catching big eels.
What's your biggest one of date?
60.
60, yes, a big fish. Yeah.
I had one monster that it's a fisherman's tale, isn't it?
Well, it's always one.
But I was out with my son, and I suddenly noticed my line was going up tide, and I thought, oh God, my anchor's dragging. But none of the other lines were, so it was bizarre. This thing had swum out of the wreck and swum up tide with it. And I pulled this thing up under the boat, and it did. It came up underneath the boat, and its head was kind of that big. It was a monster. That's all I saw was its head and about the first 2 or 3 feet of it. I couldn't see the rest of it. And I handed my rod to my son. I said, "I'll get the gaff." And instead of taking hold of the butt, he took hold of the rod tip.
Oh,
and as he took hold of it, the thing decided to dive, and it just went, "Ding!"
Oh.
Goodbye.
You never know.
So it's one of those, we'll never know how big that fish was, but I think it must have been £100.
Yeah, so that would have got you in the Conger Club.
Oh, well, I was in the Conger Club then. You only have to have a 40-pounder.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I always thought it was exclusive. You have to have 100.
No. Conger Club. So I think it's
okay.
something like £20 off the shore, £30 off a reef, £40 off a wreck. That's how it used to be. I mean, I don't know. It might have changed now, but that's what it used to be.
Oh, I'm thinking about £5 off. My biggest about 35.
Yeah.
Not massive.
Yeah, but I mean, you say it's not massive. £35 conger eel is a reasonable fish.
Still taller than me.
Yeah,
and they put up a good fight, don't they?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and they swim backwards. And
I like eels. A lot of people don't.
No, I think so. I think it's the nearest thing you're going to get to a big game fish, apart from now the tuna starting to show up. But that apparently there was a time they tried before the British Conger Club was formed. They tried to get them recognised by the IGFA. Mm-hmm. Under the International Game Federation, or whatever.
Yeah.
As a big game fish, and it was rejected, and so they formed the Conger Club. That's my understanding of it, going back sort of into the 50s or whatever.
Okay, so it was just branched off from that.
Yeah.
I like the conger eel fishing. I think it's good fun. Was there out of New Haven? I believe they used to do blue shark fishing. Do you ever remember that?
There have been attempts at it. And certainly I went out with Jeff Drew and we went to try and get blue sharks. But I've spoken to the Angling Federation, what's the organisation, about this. And apparently they don't, they're an oceanic fish. They don't come up the English Channel.
Okay.
So the nearest you'll get them is probably around the back of the Isle of the Wight.
Yeah.
Now, it's not to say you won't get the odd stray, but you're not going to get.
Generally speaking,
you won't get them. You get poor beagles up here. There was one caught out of Brighton about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Any decent size, do you know?
No, it was only small, but it was still, small poor beagles, quite a big fish.
Yeah.
And of course threshers. You get a lot of threshers.
Yeah, I've seen them. I think it was 2 years ago. It might be 3. There was just so many of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd go out and almost every trip I'd see one breach, and then the year after that I tried for one, and then it didn't happen. But I never saw any breach that year, and I didn't this year either.
No, and the mackerel have been a bit weird this year.
Very odd.
I mean, the freshers follow the mackerel shoals.
Yes.
So if the mackerel is spread out all over the place, which they seem to be, I think the freshers are the same. They're there, but they're sparse.
Mm. This is a bit of opening a can of worms here. Do you think this possibly the mackerel being in their lower numbers maybe this year? Do you think it might have something to do with the tuna or not?
I think that. I've heard a lot of people arguing against it, but I think that the tuna are definitely going to be having an impact on the fish. I think that last year we had a lot of mackerel, because it could be the other thing is that the tuna have driven the mackerel up the channel, and we're getting a lot of mackerel last year, not so much this year. The mackerel season's not over. I always used to remember the mackerel being really good in October.
So do I, funnily. I've had some great days on October on the kite when I go out for soul fishing, and just before last light, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
But even boat years, it's been a bit slow, but I've seen the topic come up, and I thought it'd be an interesting one to ask, because I believe there might be something in it, possibly.
I think this. I mean, I went fishing down. I used to go down with a guy called Austin Goldsmith down in Cornwall. He's a very good bass angler. And the last time I went out with him, which was about 3 years ago, I think, there were tuna busting everywhere. There were tuna busting everywhere, and the bass were behaving very strangely. They were hard on the bottom.
Yeah.
So the tuna were definitely impacting the bass. Were feeding on bass, and the bass were behaving accordingly. So the tuna will have an impact on fish without a doubt. I mean, you also could say we've got an awful lot of seals now. Yeah,
that's another thing, isn't it? Locally, we have more than ever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and there's a big bull seal sort of resident in the mouth of the cook me, and I see him most times when I'm out.
Because I believe they have to have between 10 and 20 kilos of fish a day.
They have to eat. I imagine it's a big old lump of a thing. It probably eats quite a lot of fish. I think I tell you the fish that seems to have disappeared, and this could really be down to the seals. Is flounders.
Okay, yeah.
Flounders used to be a staple fish for this area for match fishing off the beaches and what have you. They'd catch a lot of flounder. You get the odd one now, and I've seen a seal up the river next to where my boat is kept, eating flounders.
Oh, okay.
Literally diving and coming back up with a flounder in its mouth each time.
Yeah.
So you could say that the success of the bass could be responsible for that, because bass are on the up. There's more
they've done very well. Yeah,
but they eat baby flounders. So in the bass conservation zones, they're probably depleting the baby flounders.
Yeah, because there's not as the Ada's not had a real good year for 2 years, I think now. So that might explain that then.
And the match angler, I know the match anglers from down that way, and they were saying that they'd had a really bad year this year.
To be fair with the shore fishing this year, I think there's generally been quite tricky. But maybe I think it's because of the weather. Just the fish haven't been as settled maybe as they would have been before. But
yeah, we've had some. There's the place are now here in good numbers. There's lots of places getting caught. They're getting caught at night, which used to be an unheard of. You catch the odd one at night, apparently. Well, they're catching loads at night now, and apparently I'm no great expert match angler. I'm sort of learning as I go along with it. They are coming in. I filmed the match on was it Saturday, and apart from 2 gurnards, the only fish caught were plaice.
Really, yeah.
So,
we always have quite a lot on the boat. To be fair, if we're staying quite near in,
yeah, we
always get quite a few. You can always guarantee one. To be fair, now all year round as well.
My best day out on the boat, I had 27, I think, and most of those were big. They were very lean because they'd just spawned, but they were big. If they'd been fat, they'd have been 4 or 5 pounders, but they weren't.
That's
a
nice fish.
2 or 3 pounders, but there was no meat on them.
Yeah.
I took a couple home for my tea, and they were just skin and bones.
Yeah, was that off the boat off New Haven?
Off the boat, coming out of New Haven and fishing along the front there. I'd go up towards Peacehaven, go up to the Portobello outfall and fish along there.
Yeah, I've see some good catches from there. So your first boat was that little 10-foot one, and then the next boat you got?
I bought I think it was a 16-foot. I have no idea what the hull was. It was an older boat, had a 50 horsepower Mercury on the back of it.
Yeah.
Bought it from Peter Leonard's in New Haven. Kept it on the mud for a little while at New Haven, and then...
That's swinging moorings there, is it?
Sorry?
Is it swinging moorings there, is it?
How do you mean?
So you're...
It's a floating mooring.
Yeah.
So it was a floating mooring, but you had about an hour and a half either side of low water. You couldn't get in or couldn't get out.
Yeah,
and there's a few times that I left a little spiral pattern in the mud trying to get back in.
Because that damages the motor, I'm sure.
Well, it can't do your impellers and stuff like that, because when the water's coming out of your telltale and it's chocolate,
Yeah, it doesn't take much to block them up.
And if you don't flush it out, which you can't when it's like that, that sets like concrete inside all the little millions inside your engine. So that river mud is seriously. You let it dry onto something and it sets like concrete.
Yeah, that's no good for an engine. No. Did that boat coincide when you started? Because did you start New Haven Sea Angling Club?
No, I didn't. No. That had been in existence for quite a while. But I joined New Haven Deep Sea Anglers, and so moved my boat into the yard. That would have been about 1991, I guess.
Okay. Because I remember watching a video, and I might be wrong, so do correct me, but I think you were with... Were you with Graham Pullen in your boat? Because I remember being a teenager and I was desperate for a boat. I said to my dad, "Look, I really want," and I watched your video with Graham Pullen about small boat ownership.
Yeah,
and I know that's pretty cool. But obviously at the time, my dad's not very hands on, so it was never really going to happen. But it was a dream in the line, that at some point it would happen. But I remember that. So I think it was one of the first videos I ever watched of yours.
Yeah, it was, and it was kind of my introduction into YouTubing. I don't know if we go in that.
We will go into that way. Yeah, definitely.
But basically, I'd been ill. I had some sort of inner ear infection. I didn't know what it was, but the room was spinning. I couldn't do anything. I moved my head, and everything would move. And so I kind of spent 2 weeks just pull myself out of bed, get down into the conservatory, put a telly on, and stare at a telly. And as long as I didn't move my head, it was all right. And I kind of discovered YouTube. I knew YouTube existed, and I had a YouTube channel for quite a while, but I used to use it for posting skydiving videos with a bit of music on, because I knew they weren't like Facebook. If you put music on, you got a copyright hit straight away.
It was fine, yeah, I remember.
And YouTube, I think YouTube will still let you put music on, but you can't monetize it.
That's it, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I put a few skydive videos in just so that I could share them with people, really, with a bit of music on. That was all I knew about YouTube. And because I was ill and I was bored and I was looking for things to do, I started watching the Graham Pullen stuff on YouTube, and I just went, oh, it's amazing. And I messaged him a couple of times, and you know, and you're probably the same. You get people messaging you, go, what's this? But eventually, I kind of said, look, you know, this is my situation. This is where I am. If you ever want to come out with me to do something different from, you know, if you're struggling for places to go fishing or whatever. And he came back to me and said, well, I'd actually like to do a thing about small boats. Could I come up and film in the boatyard? So, okay, I asked the other members to make sure it was all right, and he came up and we did a video in there. So that was you know, my first foray on the YouTube fishing.
Yeah, thing. Yeah. Because he must have been quite big back then, was he?
Oh yeah, he had huge. I mean, he was much bigger than any. You know, of fishing channels in the UK, he would have been the biggest.
Yeah, yeah. So
John Locker was nothing. You know,
yeah. No, I remember the days with Graham Pullen and his little yellow boat.
Yeah,
I used to watch all that, as you know, when it first came out, sort of thing. So yeah, that was probably quite a good. Did that put you in quite a good stead to begin your YouTube? Do you think?
Well, I did that, and then I said, well, perhaps we need to go. Come out on my boat with me next time, and we'll film out there. And he said, well, I want to go conger fishing. It was February. I'm thinking,
funny time.
Yeah, you're not going to catch conger off a wreck in February. They're probably there, but they're not. They're so dormant.
Oh, yeah.
So we went out. I took him out conger fishing, and we didn't catch anything. And in fact, I watched the video, and it's fishing with me for half the video, and then it's about his dog on the downs the second half. And I kind of thought, you know, I could do this.
Yeah,
I could have a crack at this. Let's have a go at it. And so I started. My channel was already in existence, but I started putting some videos out. Found I loved it. I really did. Yeah, I mean, for me, back in the days when I used to fish, back in the sort of 60s through to the 80s, you caught and killed everything you caught.
Yeah,
and I kind of got away from that. I didn't want to fill my freezer up with fish that sat there for a year and then you
never use it. Yeah. So everyone's gone through that stage.
So I've moved very much so into catch release. I do take fish to eat, but I don't. It will be a fish that I'm going to have for tea that
Selective,
night. Yeah. They're not going to go in the freezer unless it's maybe a bit of bait, maybe. And I found that YouTube was a way of doing that. So you could record your catch, you could show people your catch. You could work at trying to make a good video out of that catch, but that fish went back.
Yeah, that's it.
So
you still get the pleasure from it, don't you? Yeah, you can share it.
Yeah. So there's a certain amount of trophyship with it because you can show the fish, and it goes out to however many thousand people in the world see that fish, and you get lots of people going, "Oh, great catch there, mate."
Yeah.
But that fish has gone back and swum away.
Yeah,
and that's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, I'm quite a catch release really. The only thing I'll ever take really just as a bass, pollock, but I like to eat it that day. If I don't want to eat it that day, I don't generally take it.
I mean, I'll put most of my bass back because the one good thing about bass is they don't blow out, so you can generally return a bass. Whereas pollock, 90% of the time, they've got a barometric injury and they're not going to go back.
Yeah.
So unless you wind them up really slowly, or you're not particularly in deep water, you kind of got to take it because otherwise you chuck it in and you just go belly up and you.
Oh damn it! Yeah. So okay, before we move on, your pollocking and wrecking, I've noticed something which you do, and I would be interesting to see your interpretation of it. So obviously, when you're fishing a sidewinder or something like that, of similar with a boom setup, you have a very long leader, don't you?
I do, and I've kind of grown to that. You've normally fished with somebody else on the boat. I mean, just recently I've been going out on my own, but you normally you've got somebody with him, and you're feeding off each other, and you're seeing what's working for them, and what's working for you, and what kind of lures fish in, and if they're catching fish, and you go, what's different? Oh, your leader's about 3 foot longer than mine, so I'll put a longer leader on, and so I put a longer leader on, and suddenly start catching fish. So I do find that a longer leader, and I'm kind of at the point where, and there's two benefits of this, but the first benefit is, well, in fact, three benefits to it. I'm about 3 arm spans in leader. It's not measured, but it's about between 7 and 10 winds on the handle before you feel the weight lifting off.
Yeah.
So I've started to use rather than sidewinders. I've been using drift DRX sand deals.
Are the weedless ones, are they?
Yeah, they are weedless. Yeah,
they're cut and closed, aren't they?
But they've got quite a lead head on them, and you can feel as you wind up. You suddenly feel a second weight as you pick the head up,
Do you? Yeah,
which you don't seem to get with sidewinders so much. I like sidewinders, and don't get me wrong, and I've used them for many years. Caught a lot of fish with sidewinders. They are a very good lure. But I've just noticed with these lead head lures that I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I can feel it coming off the bottom. And if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you don't feel any more, you know that the thing's wind up the line, and you've got to bring it in and sort it out.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So there's two benefits of it. One, you hit the wreck or wherever you're fishing, you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then start bringing the lure up so it's clear of any wreckage quickly. And two, it's a very early indicator that the system's working. Yeah. It's working. And so as I say, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I don't feel anything coming up then.
Yeah.
I better bring that in and check it.
Okay. Yeah, I've never thought about that actually, because as you say, with the weightless side, not weightless, but pretty much weightless sidewinders, you don't feel that.
No.
But I was like you. I used to use a very long trace, 10, 11, 12 foot sometimes. People would look at me, how are you doing? And I used to get a lot of comments on it.
I mean, I've been out with Ben. Ben Stotton, and
he was one who would have commented actually when I first started. Why are you such a long leader?
And he did with me.
Yeah.
But we went out. We did go out, and I did catch more pollock than him during the day. He did have a bass and a cod that day, which I didn't have. And I would probably say that if I was cod fishing, I probably wouldn't have such a long leader, because you want to be fishing close, tight onto the wreck.
You want to hop it, don't you, really, from the bottom, yeah.
You want it tight to the wreck for cod, whereas pollock, the fish are hitting it 20 feet off the wreck sometimes.
Oh, sometimes more.
Yeah.
I remember that there's one time I was winding up and I got into a snag.
Yeah.
And I pulled it out, And obviously, as you do, when it's like that, I quickly wound up to try and check that it was still on. Fast as I can.
Bang, bang,
straight away.
Yeah.
8-pound pollock.
Yeah, no, they do hit a long way up. I mean, I've had bass follow them up as well, particularly slack water bass. They seem to want to come up out of the wreck, and I found in a fast retrieve, you can encourage a bite when everything else has gone dormant apart from the pouting, because the tide has slackened off.
Yeah.
So sometimes you get a faster retrieve, we'll get a bass
on a slack water.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's worth trying
that next time.
Yeah, it's worth trying.
Yeah, normally I go on to slow pitch jigs, but I've never been able to quite get into those.
I'm not into jigs.
I just can't. They always seem to tangle, or they're not. They've got to be heavy enough so they're direct down, and they start drifting off.
It just seems to be you're putting a big lump of metal with a hook in it down into a tangle of metal. You're going to lose it.
Yeah, right.
You're not going to lose it. Yeah, and I've lost a few.
yeah. To be fair, I've definitely lost a number of slow pitch jigs.
But I'll tell you what I have found with slow jigs, and it's bizarre. I've had some nice taupe when you bait them.
Really? Jigging or just,
Yeah, I guess jigging them. Two stories. I took Jason out, who did the podcast.
Eastbourne Fisherman, yeah.
And we were drifting wrecks and what have you, and he wasn't getting a great deal. And it was his idea or mine, but he put a set of mackerel feathers down with a baited jig on it, and he hooked it and said, "Oh, I've got something." And I said, "Nah, you got the bottom." He said, "No, it's a fish. It's a fish." And it was an 8-pound taupe.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, on the jig.
Amazing.
And then last year, I took my step grandson out with us. He was only 11 or 12, I think. It might even be that actually. And he'd never caught a fish before. Took him out off the West Arm, and we caught him some mackerel, and he was made up with that. And then we said, "Well, I'm going to go out. We're going to go taupe fishing now. You can carry on using the mackerel feathers." And we were putting big baits down and trying some experimental dongle wig baits and all sorts of things with the mackerel turned inside out, so there's loads of juice coming out. We didn't have a single fish. And he was still catching mackerel, and I thought, well, let's do something so you catch something different. So we'll put some bait on the mackerel feathers and on the jig, just so you got a chance of a scad. I got fish on. I got fish on. No, you've got the bottom.
Yeah, that's it.
Bloody another £8 tope.
Really, yeah.
So we did it again, put baiting him up again, and he did it again. And we'd been fishing for tope all day, and we hadn't had a sniff.
Wow.
And he had 2 in the space of about an hour.
That says something, doesn't it? One's almost, it's just lucky, but 2, that says something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And then the following week, I went out with my usual crewman, and that's Woody, and we were fishing little baits, little bits of mackerel, and we caught tope all day.
Wow.
Absolutely all day, and it just seemed to be maybe the tope were all full, they weren't hungry, they were just nipping into little bits.
Yeah.
We were using a rubby sack on the anchor as well, so maybe there's lots of little particles in the water, and so they're picking up those little bits. But we had loads of tope on little baits, nothing on big baits.
That's interesting. And normally they come in and smash it up. But I'll tell you where they do use, funny as you say about baited jigs, is I saw a video once, and I think they were in Norway, and they were going
like
for
a sausage.
fish.
They put like a sausage on it.
Yeah. They put like a bit of bait with these big sort of 200-gram jigs.
Yeah.
There must be maybe more. And they sort of drop it to the bottom, and they're jigging them quite a lot.
Yeah.
And they're getting all sorts.
Yeah.
So maybe that is something I'll try a little bit more often, actually.
Yeah, well, I think it's worth it. I mean, I think that turbot fishing, I think if you put a slow jig, instead of putting weights on, you put a reasonable size slow jig, and you clip a long strip of mackerel on the boat. So the slow jig's bouncing along the bottom, dragging the mackerel behind it. Mm-hmm. I think that's worth a try.
Yeah, there's a few things I've wanted to try with the turbot, and I've heard people think I'm mental, but I think a sidewinder on the bottom being towed
Why not?
along.
Because that's what they're eating. They're eating sand eels.
Yeah, precisely. And I think the vibration of the tail, maybe it'll just get them alert. I don't know. Yeah. And I think you maybe get less nuisance species then as well.
Maybe.
Sometimes keeping the bait down for the turbot is really tricky. Have you done much turboting?
Only because of Ben. I've had turbot. I've not been fishing for them really. I went out of Weymouth once for turbot, didn't catch any. But
because the shambles there, isn't it?
Yeah, shambles, yeah. And it's sand. It's hard sand. So you're going on your rods, going bang, 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 bang. So how do you know you got a bite? I mean,
it's a bit tricky.
I mean, you get a little bit of that here, but nothing like there.
No.
And turbot were caught that day, but I didn't. We were using big launch, so we were using the perfect bait for big sand eels. No, I've since had a couple of goes. I had a good trip out with Ben and his mate John. We didn't get any. I went to another mark the week after that, didn't get any. But I got a 14-pound tope and a 12-pound bullace.
Well, you can't run at that, can you?
On little light rods, so
great fun.
Oh, fantastic! I've got this little. I've got a jigging rod, and it was literally bent double with its bullace.
Awesome! Yeah, that's one thing on my list of things I need to get is a couple of really light rods.
Oh, I've gone over to it now. I'm really into light rods.
Yeah, it's
really
just
into light rods.
More fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
You suddenly appreciate smaller fish more.
Well, and to be honest, without when you're filming, it makes it a bit more dramatic for the film.
Yes.
When you've got a big bend in the rod, wherever you've got a sort of broom handle and I've got a good fish here and the rod's not even bending.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So I kind of did it because of that, but I'm having such a blast with it.
Yeah.
There's Penn have got a series of really light rods that are solid carbon.
Oh, okay.
I've got a 6-pound class Penn. They call it a Regiment 3.
Yeah.
Solid carbon, 6-pound class rod. Boy,
fun.
I had a 10-pound pollock on one earlier in the year, and that bent the rod right around.
That's what you want.
But you feel. I mean, I've had rods that are bent right round, and you think I've got no contact with the fish now. But with those particular rods, you feel as though you've got contact with the fish, even though it's bent right over.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, really good rods.
Yeah. Do you some people I think said the butts were a bit short. Do you find that or not?
I think with those rods, they're not short. They're long. They're long.
It might be that maybe a different rod then.
I mean, the jigging rods probably they're a bit short, I would think. But certainly, I think the Penn regiments are not. I mean, I've heard other people using LRF rods because they say they're really powerful.
That's what I want to try. Yeah.
I would imagine that I mean, I don't know. I've never really looked into it, but I imagine the butts are quite short on them, really.
Yeah, I'll have to give that a little go then. I'll put some in my order list.
Yeah. Penn Regiment 3, guys and gals. Yeah. Solid carbon, you heard it from me.
Yeah, that's it. Please start inbox the Instagram.
Yeah. And say it was Fishy with CJ that suggested it.
That's it. Oh dear.
Are you hearing me, Mr. Penn?
Yeah, that's it. Have you picked up any sort of sponsorship type things over the years doing it?
I avoided it for many years. For many years, I've avoided it because I think you lose your independence. I don't want to be told, why are you using this jig? You should be using our jig. We sponsor you, blah, blah, blah. But in the last, not very long, I met up with the guys from Drift Lures, and they sent me some lures. I'm not, in no way am I sponsored by them, but they did send me some lures, so I've given them a good go on the thing. And actually, I have to say that they're bloody good.
Yeah, I saw you catching fish on them, so that's all you can ask for,
they
isn't
are
it?
good, and so I'm bigging them up a bit, but I'm not sponsored by them. I'm not committed to them in any shape or form. And if you watch some of my videos, sometimes I'm not fishing with a drift lure, I'm fishing with something else. There's a couple of guys down in Cornwall who I think they've just started out, who are selling lures. That basically their pitch is that they're a couple of anglers. They got fed up with paying top money for lures, so they resourced cheaper lures. So all of their lures are less than £10.
Okay.
And I did approach them last week and said, look, would you like me to promote some of your lures? And they said yes. So they're sending me some. So I'll have a look at them, see how I get on with them.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go, oh yeah, these are amazing.
You've got to be honest.
Yeah,
because people see right through it.
No, exactly. I will be honest.
It's funny you say about the individuality, because I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I've been quite lucky with a few people who have sponsored the channel and given me bits to try.
Yeah.
But I'll always say to them, I'm going to be totally honest. When Polycraft come up to me, and I've got that little boat, I said, I'm going to put it through its conditions. If it's no good in the stability wise, I will say, I'm going to say it's not suitable for the sea. But actually, hands up to it, it's been fantastic.
Yeah. And it's the onus is on them, really, is to produce something that if you expect me to sponsor this, then it's got to be as good.
Yes.
It's got to be that good, because I will tell you this is a load of tosh.
Yeah, precisely. And also, I think as you do it because you love it, the YouTube, don't you? You enjoy the video and stuff. I think it can sometimes become a bit too much of a job when you've got to go for certain products and you've got to get results on them products.
No, quite.
So having that sort of, you're still going out for fun's a bit better, really, isn't it?
Well, I mean, these guys in Cornwall were promoted. Well, some of the lures are, I won't say copies, but they are very similar to premium lures that are out there, which I use. So I'm not kind of going, I'm going to use your lure here because I'm already using that lure, but I'm just using one that costs 3 times as much as yours.
Yeah.
Now, if yours is as good, then I want the world to know about that.
Yeah.
Because if your lure is as good and it's a third the price of what you're going to be paying a premium company, then everyone should know that, and the premium company needs to bring their prices down.
Yeah, because I must admit, some of the lure companies I think must be making a fortune.
Oh, some of the Japan. I'm not going to name any names, but some of the Japanese lures, £30 or £40 a lure.
Mental. Yeah, I know.
Would you roll up 2 £20 notes and put them on a hook and cast them into the water?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, see, I remember when I first started, I was doing a lot of bass trolling.
Yeah.
And some of them lures, 18, 19 quid.
Yeah.
And someone sort of said to me, but the thing is, Jay, how much do you spend on bait a trip? And I go, well, sometimes it's 20, 30 quid.
Yeah.
And then they go, well, that one lure, providing you don't lose it, which a lot of the top lures you don't lose and stuff like that, it might last you years. And I thought, oh, okay. But they're just a bit of plastic with a frame.
Or a piece of balsa wood or whatever. I mean, back in the day when I had my little beach boat, I was using Scandinavian companies' lures, and they at the time were really expensive at £8 or £9 each.
Wow, that's a lot of money for back then.
It was.
That's like double now, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember one day I lost 3 on a trip out. There was a particular part of the reef where the fish is good for fishing, but it's very snaggy. And I lost 3 lures on this and I kind of went about and bottom lip was out,
It cost more than the boat.
Just done nearly 30 quids in lures.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it was worse, definitely more than the boat had cost me.
Yeah, my other half, when she watches the videos and I'm lost lure, she says, Jay, that's 15, 20 quid a time at a trip. And people forget about actually the fuel's a lot, the insurance is a lot, all that launching is a lot. But some of the kit is, you do lose a lot of money for it.
And I guess that's fishing, isn't it? If you want to catch fish, you've got to use the good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the shore anglers with peeler crab, and they go, they're working out £1 each. Yeah, but if you put 4 black lug on your hook, it's probably about the same price.
Same thing, yeah.
You know,
yeah,
and I wouldn't want to have the job of picking or digging because it's a bloody hard way of earning money.
Have you done much lug pumping? Or?
I have done some. Yeah,
it's difficult, isn't it?
It is a dark art.
Yes.
And when you watch people who are good at it, and you go, "How is he doing that?"
Yeah. For my last 50, I've got 1 worm, and you've got 10 in the last 10 pumps. Yeah.
I mean, I went out with a guy called Dan Wood, and we did a little video of him pumping, and he was, he pumped 5 or 6, and you think no worm there, and then you go bang, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How have you done that?
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? I remember I bought a custom made pump. I spent quite a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
Went out near Cooden Beach, and I had maybe 200 worms. I thought, wow, this is it. I've nailed the art. That's done. I went out next week, similar tide, similar area. I got 10.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah.
And it's what they know when we're struggling, and that's what makes the difference.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I know some good bait pumpers, and I won't give up on it. I will carry on doing it.
Yeah, you can save yourself a lot of money.
Well, you can save yourself, and fresh out worms are on certain circumstances are unbeatable as a bait.
Yeah, a lot of people like them for bass baits, don't they?
Yeah,
the surf.
bass this time of year, fresh out black lug. People, if you're going to be fishing off the beach and you want a bass, fresh out black lug is what you need to use, and you've got a better chance, definitely.
Have you done much of that fishing this year, or for the bass on the shore?
Have I had a bass off the shore this year? There's a better question to ask. I've had a couple of little ones. I haven't really been targeting. I mean, I fished a competition 2 weeks ago. And I was filming Dan Wood actually, so I was doing a beginner's guide to match angling. So I was fishing Dan, who's quite a good angler, but I had my rod set up as well, and every so often I was going back and winding it. So I was catching fish, but I was way behind everybody else. And I thought, well, I'm going to put a squid bait out now and just see if I can't pick up a bass, and I didn't.
It's not as easy as people think, is it? They go, oh, it's the rough weather, it's perfect. You go down there, put a big bait out. Half that time, the bait ends up back on the shore within about 10 minutes.
I think it all ended up in a crab's stomach because when I wound the hooks in, they were polished. So
yeah, it's definitely tricky. So with the boat ownerships, do you think barriers to entry then to get? Because a lot of people want to get a boat, don't they? When they're as sea anglers, they all want boats from a lot of people, but never seem to get around to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an old adage, isn't it, that a boat is a hole in the water you throw your money into, and
bring out another 1,000, they say, don't they?
Yeah, it's expensive. It's an expensive pastime, and buying the boat isn't the expensive bit.
No,
you can pick up boats. You can pick up boats cheaply because people find it hard to keep them. Yeah. Where do you keep your boat? And people do find that, they have to sell their boat because they've got nowhere to keep it, or it costs too much to launch it, or it's too difficult to launch it, or you've had a boat for 3 months and you've never managed to tie the time and the weather together with the day that you're able to go out fishing. So
yeah. Because is yours still at New Haven Fishing Club?
Mine, I am still a member of New Haven Deep Sea Anglers, but I have paid after last year when I didn't manage to get out much at all. I do pay to keep it in the marine at the moment. It's just coming up to the end of the next quarter, so I'm going to have to find the money for that if I want to keep it in for another quarter.
Yeah, it's quite expensive. It's the problem with New Haven because is yours quite far back in the marina? Is the tide really affects it?
No, I mean the tide affects all of the berths in New Haven, but I'm lucky and I've got mine in not in one of those berths. It's quite close. The boat floats at all times. It never comes out of the mud.
That's good.
But there's a big mud bank appears behind it, so I can't get out or I can't get back in again on certain stages of the tide. So it does confine you a little bit. It is annoying, and a lot of that is down to. I wasn't going to spend much whinging on this, but New Haven Marina, you do need to spend some money to get that harbour dredged.
I was going to say they've got to do that because there's some charter companies there which would love to operate from New Haven because they've got Brighton and Eastbourne. Yeah. Out of New Haven there's some great ground, but they don't because the tides are so restricted.
I mean, I fish from New Haven, and there used to be a real tidy charter fleet in New Haven. Top anglers like Chris Martin, Jeff Drew, Terry Lee, and loads of other names that escape me.
See, Terry Lee's a name I know. I don't know why, but
well, Terry's I say he's Seabreeze 3 in Brighton.
Yeah, so, that might be why then.
Yeah, but used to have some really top anglers in there, and it was before Rye kind of took it over as the conger capital, but New Haven was the conger capital.
Yeah, well, that's where the £100. I think one of the British records came out of there.
They had a record in New Haven, then it got beaten by a boat out of Rye, I think. But
yeah, but still south east coast, isn't it?
Yeah.
There must be some big ones out there still.
Yeah, I mean, I had a little exchange of words with somebody recently about this. That back in the day, we used to slaughter everything we caught. So if any eels caught went into the market.
Died, didn't they? Yeah, unfortunately.
And I know that Chris Martin, who was a top conger angler, towards the end, he actually admitted that he regretted doing that because they're very slow to repopulate.
Yeah.
So if you take the fish off a wreck, that wreck's now barren for however many years before they start getting back in there. So I think there was a lot of that went on in New Haven, and a lot of the wrecks got fished out very quickly. They're coming back now. The congers are coming back.
Yeah, well, you'd have thought so now, because they've had the good sort of 20 years without people really targeting killing them. So you'd hopefully give it another 10 years. There'll start be some real big ones.
And I think this conger competition that Ben and yourself are putting forward, the biggest thing about that, as far as I'm concerned, it's catch and release. Yeah,
I agree. That's what we were so dead. I mean, I said, look, even the weighing that fish, some people are going to do it wrong.
Yeah.
People are going to put. I said, just do the length and put it back safely.
Yeah. I think length and girth would be a good
That's what
way
we
to
said.
Yeah,
that's what the rules were, length and girth,
Yeah, I mean, you put it up underneath its armpits, underneath its pectoral fins, sort of thing, and its length. It's not going to be easy.
No.
Because they don't sit still.
No, that's it.
So it's going to be a bit of a guesstimate, and I think that you've got to kind of...
it's going to be a bit of give and take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with any competitions, there will be some that try to cheat.
That's the one thing which I think it's human nature sometimes, unfortunately. So it makes it a bit tricky. Hopefully, so we'll get on in October. But
well, I've been practicing for it.
Yeah, so you've got some recs written down.
I've got some recs for it. I've got some good numbers. I've got a phone call today saying that somebody's just been diving on a particular wreck, and there's loads of eels in there, big.
Oh wow! Far off?
Oh,
no, Jake, you don't get my mark.
It's over there.
It's that one next to the tower. What?
It's over that way. I was just looking at the chart there. I can't see it on that chart.
There's no wreck there. What are you talking about?
What?
Oh dear. Well, that'll be interesting. I think that competition will give us a good guide as to how healthy the conger population is actually, and how many big ones there might be.
I mean, the chart. I mean, there was some charter boats taking part in it, and they may well go out into the beyond the shipping lanes, and I think that perhaps, if you find an untapped wreck out there, you'll there's a potential for some big eels. Yeah,
I'd like to see some. I'd like to see some real big sort of 70 pluses.
Well, I want to get my Conger Club flag back. I was a member of the Conger Club, and I wrote to them last year. I think I said, I was a member of the club. Do you keep? How far back do your records go? And they don't. So they said, no, you'll have to do it again.
Oh no!
So I'll have to get my Conger flag back.
Oh, I'm sure that'll happen.
Yeah.
What's the so you've got a Raider, haven't you?
I've got a
Raider 18, is it?
Yeah.
See, they're very seaworthy boats, aren't they?
Oh, it's a lovely boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lovely boat.
How far out have you gone in that, do you think?
17 miles.
Yeah, so way past the shipping lanes then.
Well, no, because it's 17 miles, but 17 miles into the separation zone, or into the west to east shipping lane.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's about the limit. I've not gone beyond the shipping lanes.
Yeah, because the shipping lanes sort of stop towards the west, don't they?
The CS2 is kind of down off Brighton, isn't it? I think somewhere, and then it opens up. I think it opens up. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'm very familiar with these waters. I'm not really familiar with any other waters.
Yeah.
Not in this country, anyway.
Sometimes it's better to be a master of one place.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy, isn't it? It's easy here. I'm not worried about reefs that I'm going to wreck on. I haven't really. If all else fails, I just head north, and I will hit the coast.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to end up sort of hitting a headland somewhere that I didn't know about.
No, you should be pretty safe here.
So it's pretty safe. It's a bit different in Cornwall. I was going to take my boat down to Cornwall one year, and I got very close to getting it all organised, and then circumstances changed, and I couldn't get the trailer sorted out.
I was going to say, have you got a trailer? But then no.
No, I have got a trailer, but I put a bid on one on eBay and won it. And And then basically my head gasket went on my car, and the money that I'd set aside for doing the trailer, I had to put on the car, and I had to phone this bloke up and say, I'm awfully sorry.
Yeah.
I'm very, very sorry. But
He was probably thinking, one of these again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, probably. And he didn't give me bad feedback or anything like that. So it was,
that's something.
But I'd set it up. I'd spoken to the harbour master at Padstow. I'd got a berth set up down in Padstow. I got a farmer down there. I was going to keep the boat on the farm when I wasn't using it and what have you. It was all set up to do. And then, as I say, it's fishing.
Just happens.
It's having boats. There's lots of things you've got to get to line up.
Everything's got to line up perfectly, hasn't it, for it to work? Yeah, definitely.
And if they don't line up, it's when you go, well, I'm going to go out anyway. That's when you get an accident.
A problem. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, when we went down to Cornwall for blue shark fishing, we were down there.
Yeah.
And we sort of, on the Sunday, we said, look, it's not ideal, but there is another boat going out with us.
Yeah.
So we thought, worst case scenario, let's say we roll it. Worst case, I always take worst case scenario.
Yeah.
There's another boat, they'll pull us out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the boat's gone, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
We're safe.
Yeah.
So that's the worst case. And he was always going to be happy if we needed to go back. That was fine. So we went out, and the waves down. You've been to Cornwall a few times, but
quite a lot.
The waves there are different to what we get.
Big swells, big Atlantic swells.
It's so much more easier to deal with.
Yeah, because they're big rolling swells.
I mean, the ones we went out on Sunday, they were 20 foot.
Yeah.
And the locals also, they were 20 foot. And we got a lot of people, no, they're not 20 foot. I said, they're different down there. These ones, you could roll right over it.
Yeah.
I mean, and you'd be fine.
And the tides are nothing like our tides.
No.
We get 7 metre tides here. In Cornwall, they go, I've got a 3 metre tide. 3 metre tide? We'd never get a 3 metre tide.
Honestly, we went on springs because that's the best for blue shark fishing.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get the boat moving at one point. Yeah. I was bringing it broadside. I was trying to get the wind to work with us, and we were going at half a knot, if that, in the peak tide. Yeah. We had to do a bit of power chumming to get it going, and we caught some fish. But,
I've never caught a shark. Never ever caught a shark. I mean, I've caught lots of shark species, topes and bullusses and dogfish and what have you, but I've never had a shark. And it's kind of on my bucket list to do. So
you'd say that maybe you'd put the boat down there at some point? Maybe.
Yeah, I'd like to. I'd love to. I really would. I really would love to. I mean, I think what you've got is a great idea, is having a smaller sort of topper boat that you could take down and sort of launch and fish. But I'm toying with upgrading my boat to a bigger boat.
Yeah, we're also going to get onto that, actually.
Yeah, I am toying with it. It depends. Again, things have got to line up.
What was the driving force behind getting a bigger one?
I'm 70 next year.
You wouldn't think it.
And I'm starting to enjoy my comforts a little bit more. It's kind of what I've been working towards. I've been out on a couple of people's boats. I went out with John on his, and I just think, this is so lovely.
Yeah, because he's got a
Beneteau
8, isn't he? Yeah, it's a nice boat actually, twin outboard.
Yeah, well, I'm toying with either a Beneteau 8 if one comes up, or a Quicksilver 805, which again would have.
It's quite a bit longer then.
No, it's not. It's about the same.
Is it about the same?
Yeah, it's called an 805, but it's 7.9 or something like that.
Okay, it's quite a lot longer than what you've got now, though.
Oh yeah,
quite a bit bigger. Yeah. So just handle a bit more sea, I suppose.
Well, I mean, I went out on a because I was looking at a Quicksilver 755, and there was one on the market at New Haven. Unfortunately, it's been sold now. In fact, there was a video about it if you want to get on the video. And we went out. I went out with Aaron Simpson from Simpson Marine, and I said, "Pip, we're not going to be able to open it." And he said, "Why not?" Well, okay then, if you want to. And it just went over the top of these waves, and my radar would have been going airborne.
Yeah.
And then dropping into a big hole and hitting the ground with an almighty slam.
Yeah.
But this didn't. It just went punch through it. It's lovely.
Yeah, that does help, doesn't it, when they're like that? It's just having the confidence when you're out. If it does turn, you're going to get back a bit better.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely.
And being in a cabin's quite nice.
And silly little things like I'd like to take my partner out with me, and she won't go out because there's no toilet.
Yeah. yeah.
You just hang it over the side. I'm not doing that.
No, that's it. Get a bucket.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, my polycraft has a great toilet. We won't go into how close you have to be to the next person when you're doing anything, but
no.
we make it work. It work. But that'd be interesting to see if you do get another one.
But, I mean, as I say, it's not a given. Two ways to go. So I'd like to either do a lot of stuff to the Raider, put power steering and also helm on it, and AIS and various other bits and bobs. and keep it because it's a lovely boat. I do like it.
Well, all the bass boats use them, don't they? Because they're seaworthy, they're safe in a big sea. Yeah. They've got quite high freeboards.
I mean, I used to know. Again, this is the name of a person you may or may not know, but John Darling was a big journalist in the fishing and shooting world. Lived in Seaford, as it turns out. He wrote an amazing book called The Fisherman's Guide to England and Ireland, and basically every single fishing location around the coast in England, United Kingdom and Ireland, or Britain and Ireland. But he had a raider. He had raider number 2.
Okay.
So he had the second one built when they were made in Eastbourne.
So that's when they were tombstone technology. Throw it out there and hopefully it'll be okay.
Well, I mean, no, the ones that were made in Eastbourne had very good reputation, and then they sold the moulds to a company that was based in Poland, and for a little while, apparently, they dropped the quality quite badly, and they got a very bad reputation. But they quickly turned that around, and now they're reshored again. So Raiders are now being made by the same company that makes Warriors in the UK.
Oh, okay.
He was the guy who was at the boat show this year. I saw it. I spoke to him at Southampton on Friday.
Yeah, I was trying to get down to the Southampton boat show. Just never got round to it. Things just didn't quite align.
I've never been before, but honestly, it was great. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, because there's a lot of mixed reviews online, as you do.
Yeah.
But a lot of people say, you can only go there if you've got a lot of money and whatever. But if you go, I think if you just go there and just enjoy what's there, enjoy the boats, speak to some people, it's probably not a bad day out.
My partner and I, we watch a YouTube channel called Aquaholics a lot, and that's a guy, Nick. I don't know, I can't remember his surname, but he does reviews on multi-million-pound yachts, and so we have a little bit, and we watch that and go, yeah, right, in our dreams. Not even a lottery win, this boat, you'd have to have multiple lottery wins to afford it. But of course, they're all there at the Southampton Boat Show. So she came along, and so she quite enjoyed it to see these things. And it's kind of a standing joke in the family that we're going to go and buy a Sunseeker.
Which is terrible for fishing, but perfect for relaxing. Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember walking around the harbour and said to my other half, I said, when you see a boat that you like and you think, oh, yeah, you can, you'd actually come out on board with me, you let me know. And I said, it needs to be reasonable.
Yeah.
I said, and she pointed to one of them. And I said, it's not ideal for fishing, I'm afraid.
You could fish off the back.
You could probably get on the bathing platform at the back with
your
tripod.
Fish guts all over the back of it. We'll get the butler to clean them.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's the sort of things you'd enjoy, I think.
Yeah.
But that's that. I mean, I'll probably end up getting a bigger boat one day. But I think if I was to do it, it'd have to be something sort of between 20, 21 foot, something like that, and I'll probably try and code it to do some sort of one-to-one chartering as a sort of side business. But is that something you're ever interested in? Or?
Well, I toyed with it. I did think about it one time. One time I would have said that was my dream, was I'd become a charter skipper, and then I thought, hang on, what does that involve? That means you've got to go bloody fishing every day that you can with a bunch of whinging idiots who don't respect you and don't respect the boat, or you cancel at the last minute and they all get moaning and go, why have you cancelled it? And to turn your hobby into a profession, I think, is a bad mistake.
Yeah, see, I'd almost agree here, because I've got a little business that I run on the side, and I do bits with that. It used to be an old hobby, and now it's just I can't enjoy it anymore.
No,
it just because the fun is sapped out of it.
When you've got to do it,
yeah,
and you look out the window and you go, I don't feel it today. Yeah. But you've got a charter that's wanting to go out and have paid a deposit, and you think,
you've got to find a fish. You've got to put all your energy into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily as easy as that's. I think that's why I wouldn't want a big one.
No.
I'd want one I can pick the clients.
Yeah.
Obviously, it'd be a premium price because there's one or two people on board, but I'll teach them all go and do proper big trips, 24, 48 hour type trips, and I'll take them all around the UK, depending on what they want. I think that'd be quite good fun. But
whether you'd make money at it, because all these people they're great, but they don't want to spend a lot of money on it. And I mean, I know people that had these great ideas and they failed. I mean, somebody I know set a business up in Cornwall. He got a guest house down there. He took his boat from here down there, and the idea being that people would come for the weekend. It would be 3 days out on the sea, but staying in his guest house.
Yeah.
And it lasted a year.
Really?
Yeah.
See, to me, that sounds like a great business plan.
No, it sounds like a great
and it's
business.
holiday, I think I'd love.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't do it myself.
The economy changed at the time, so there was the first big recession happened. So suddenly,
2008.
so no one's got any money. You get a long period of bad weather.
Yeah, well,
so it's all very well having people come staying for the weekend, but if you can't get out, with that sort of business plan, you can't say, "Well, come back next week."
Yeah, no,
because
exactly.
you've already booked up next week.
Yeah.
So it failed, as far as I'm aware. I've lost track of him. He was a good mate of mine, actually. I'd like to try and find him again.
Because I think there's a guy who does it in Ireland, which I think Graham Pullen goes there actually sometimes.
Yeah, there's a guy down the south coast of Ireland. He goes,
and he does, but then he's a lot shore fishing, so you can fish all the time.
Yeah,
it's not boats, which are much more unpredictable.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I think with charter skipping. And this is another one I wanted to ask you if you've noticed it, because I've felt it in the last 2 or 3 years. That I just believe there's a lot more wind than there used to be. I don't know, maybe I've not really done it long enough to know.
I've noticed it, but then it's old age.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with the weather.
Yeah, old age. I've noticed a lot more wind. No, I don't think so. I think you get periods when you get a couple of bad summers, and then you get a great summer, and then you have a bad summer the next year, and you go, oh God, the weather's turned bad again. No, if you had the summer before was a good summer.
Yeah, because this year we've had the heat, but the wind's just been appalling generally.
Yeah, well, it was the position of the jet stream. The jet stream
was running south. It needs to go north.
Yeah, it was south of us, and so southern Europe had incredibly hot weather, and we just had a whole succession of cold fronts going through.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. It was rather irritating. But every long trip that we planned, Minehead, Cornwall and Scotland, every single one we had to contend with weather.
Yeah,
we got quite lucky in Cornwall, to be honest, but we sort of said, well, we're just going to do it. We're just going to go.
Well, the good thing about Cornwall is that there are plenty of sheltered estuaries, particularly on the south coast. So you can always get out fishing, and there is good fishing there. So gilthead bream fishing, bullhuss fishing, ray fishing up in the Fal estuary, for instance, or go around the corner into the Helford River and stuff like that.
We tried the River Fal. I would have liked, if I was going to do it properly, we'd driven overnight and we got there a bit later because we needed a few naps on the way down. But I would have liked to have got there for first light, anchored up. And there's a little bend you can anchor around. It's meant to be quite good for giltheads. But we went there just for the first day because it was a washout wind-wise. And we struggled, to be honest. We had one sea bream and I think that was it.
Well, I mean, I've got some reasonable marks to fish off there, which would probably fish well, because actually, when you're casting out, there's yachts normally. You've got to try and cast between the yachts.
Yes, that's the problem we had. Yeah,
you can imagine the middle of the night.
Yeah, sorry.
Go leg it quick before they
wasn't me.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
But it's good for bullhuss, as I say, giltheads, rays. But it's fishing. You should have been here last week. You should have been here last week.
Yeah, I remember we used to go to Devon on holidays. And it was always the day when we're leaving. That week, the weather would be nice.
Yeah,
it's like, when are we going to get a break? But it just doesn't happen sometimes.
Well, I've back from the days when I was the eyeballs in the sky until now, we've stayed with the same family down there. And in fact, my caravan is on their farm now, tucked away in a little wood. It's our own little meadow.
Yeah,
they call it Sparks' Meadow.
Oh, awesome.
I can have a fire pit if I want one. I've got nobody else there at all. Where was I going with this? But they always used to say they called it Sparks' weather because it rained every time I went there. But the last few times I've been there, they're now saying it's the other way around. And we were there the week before last. It was 30 degrees.
Lovely.
It's the first time I've ever slept in the caravan the whole time we were there with all the windows open with the mosquito blinds down because it was so hot.
Oh, wow.
And it was just fantastic.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable weather. And the first day we were there, we walked down the beach, and as I was walking down the beach, there was a couple walking back, and he got a fishing rod in his hand. I said, "Oh, you can't caught anything?" I said, "No." And I said, "If you fish here a lot?" He said, "Oh, I fish here a lot." He was a Cornishman. I won't try and do the accent because it's the most difficult
Come
accent.
out from York. Yeah, no, it comes out Yorkshire if I try.
What it comes out East Anglia when I do it. But anyway, got chatting to him, and the whole conversation started because of the dog. And he's quite a top filmer, fishing filmer.
Okay.
So he's done a lot of films in the past with Ed Schliffer, Frank Shaw. And again, he said, because where are you from? And I said, Neway. He said, do you know Frank Shaw? And I went, yeah.
Small world.
What a small world. So I kind of, towards the end of the conversation, if you're going out fishing at all, if you want a companion, I'm down for the week.
Yeah, great.
So I went fishing with him. So
awesome.
yeah,
He's a bit of video in, did he? Or
I videoed him.
oh, you videoed him. Oh, great.
So I got him. I think he's kind of put his camera down now. So and again, the video is on there. His name's Mike Bryant. If you want to go look on Mike Bryant 135, he's put a lot of little clips from, because he was doing videos. He was selling videos rather than in the days on this online stuff. So there's a guy called Ed Schliff who's quite a famous. He was called the Rock Hopper because he used to do a lot of clambering down cliffs and fishing. Very famous. And he takes people like David Cameron, like Nigel Farage, people like that out fishing, guides them.
Oh, amazing.
And so I had a cracking time with him. And you know, I think we're quite good mates now. So hopefully, I'm going to phone him up and say I'm coming down next week.
Yeah, excellent.
And we'll go out
do some
again.
fishing.
Yeah,
sounds good.
he said he's promised me gilt heads next time. So
a promise with a fishing's always a tricky one, isn't it?
No.
I promise you're going to catch something. Oh God.
Yeah, yeah, that's guaranteed. I was like mullet, and my bet noir. I've never managed to catch a mullet, and I've done so many attempts at.
That's all right.
So many attempts at it.
Even down New Haven, you've not managed to. Really, that's surprising.
There's an awful lot of them there.
Yeah. I mean, they're a very tricky fish to catch.
They are,
because when they're very, very slow growing.
Yeah, so they're 30 or 40 years old. Yeah,
and they've seen it all.
Yeah,
they know.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
They go up and down that river twice every day for the whole of the summer.
Yeah.
So anything that's out of place and they're neophobic, they're scared of anything new, they will just turn away from it. Yeah. I mean, I've got them feeding on bread. I've got the bread and water, and they're feeding on it. And then I put a bit of bread with a hook in it, in amongst it, and they eat every single bit of bread on the surface, apart from the one we were hooking.
It's crazy. Yes, they're so hard.
How do they know that?
Yes, the only ones I find easy to catch are the grey mullet, the thin lips.
Right, well, yeah. I mean, I've heard people say the thin lips are harder to catch, but
see, we use like a spinner with a bit of ragworm at the end.
Yeah, that's what I've been using.
Really? Yeah. No. If you've never caught a mullet, then go down to Christchurch.
Yes, and use a bit of bacon.
Yeah. Really?
Apparently.
Is that what it is?
They bacon because down Christchurch, Muddyford Way, everyone goes crabbing.
Yeah.
And they use a bit of bacon rind. And now apparently the killer bait down there for bass and mullet is bacon rind.
Okay.
Because they've got so used to eating it from the crab fishermen.
Yeah, I'll have to try that then.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, because we go down there every year.
Yeah.
With the spinners and the ragworm, and we've had great sessions.
I agree. I know so many people that say, "Oh, I was down in Christchurch, caught 4 yesterday." I've made friends with a guy who is a mullet guru.
Yeah.
And he makes the spinners, so he's given me some of his homemade spinners, which are beautiful, beautiful work. And he said, "We're going to go to this location. You're guaranteed to catch one."
Yeah.
Your words.
Yeah.
And we sat at this place, and as the tide comes in up this little cut, you can see the mullet coming up with the tide. And here we go, any minute now. And on this particular day, they'd been cutting grass, and so there was a lot of grass on the water. And the mullet came out, saw the grass, and went straight back down the river.
Oh,
again.
no.
So they go, "What? Is it me?"
It just, again, that stars did not align that day.
No. Well, this guy has had a commission from somebody who's doing a study on mullet, and he was meant to be collecting scales from them to send for diagnosis, because they're trying to identify the DNA profile of them.
It's incredible what they can find out.
Yeah.
From a scale, they can find out what they've been eating.
Yeah.
When.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were when we went skate fishing up in Scotland, and the research team were there doing that, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really incredible.
Well, they didn't from him because he didn't catch any.
No, that's it. He struggled. Yeah.
That year he didn't catch them, and in the end he had to go in the fish market and buy some.
Unbelievable.
Just so that he could give them something.
I don't know what they might be from Spain, but just give it a go.
Well, no, they would have been locally patrolled, but because there's a place in Lewis where in about March, you might know about this, But there's in Lewis, about March to April time, the thin-lipped mullet all come up and they congregate in this one spot.
Are they fins or are they thick lips?
Fins.
They're fins.
Yeah.
I didn't realise they were up. Fins were up there.
No, fins go all the way up past the weir and right up to.
Right. I thought they were all thick lip mullet.
No, it's thins.
Oh,
it's thins.
So they've got both. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I might try with a spinner then down there. Well, I might do the water's
you'd
not
probably
clear.
you'd probably get thrown in the river if you got caught fishing there, because there's a lot of people go there to wildlife.
Yeah.
And again, I've filmed them with a camera on a stick and whatever.
I think I've seen a video of them. There's just thousands across. Yeah, I think I've seen the video.
He's taken the BBC Spring Watch have been there and done an episode about it. They called it a murmuration of mullet because they're just there and they're just swimming around each other.
Yeah.
But the I've done 2 years now, filmed them, and last year, not this year, we saw loads of lampreys amongst the mullet. So the mullet had lampreys attached to them. And quite a lot of the mullet had lamprey scars as well. So we figure there's a winterbourne. It's a winterbourne comes out there, so it's absolutely gin clear water comes out into the ooze at that point. And we think, we've got no proof of this, but we think it's one of about 3 things. They come up and they cleanse themselves by bathing in fresh water. The mullet do? Yeah, because they come back into the rivers in about March. They come back to spawn in March. So they go, wrong. They spawn at sea. They come back into the rivers in March. Yeah. So they're the opposite to salmon. Yeah. And they will have been out in the sea and they will have picked up fish lice and all sorts of things in the sea. So they come back and they bathe in fresh water to kill off all the fish lice. That's one theory. Yeah. Another theory might be that they come there to rehydrate because they've been in the seawater, which they will have dehydrated slightly in seawater because of osmosis and what have you. So they come up and bathe in this crystal clear water for a period of time. Or they just do it because they like it. But whatever. They like putting on a show. Oh, literally 500 to 1,000 of them. Yeah, it's like incredible. A black cloud all the way down the river. And the seals come up and hit them, and the pike hit them there as well. Really, I bet that's quite good, cool to watch. I bet if you put a bait there, you'd still struggle. Well, you'd foul hook one. Yeah, that's it. I think some people, that's what they resort to in the end. Trying to drag a treble through, which is very unsporting, but there you go. Well, that's something you'll have to try this year. Yeah, I mean, I've got a casting net. I won't be able to pull it out. It'd be too heavy. Casting net. So I've got one. Yeah. Which I bought for a bit of fun. And I thought, if I'm on a mackerel show or a herring show, I'm going to give it a go. To cast the damn thing, there's an art to that. Oh, there is. Have you mastered it then? Yeah. How long did that take? Who taught me or showed me? Oh, you had a teaching guru. Somebody showed me how to do it, or I might. It was before the days of YouTube. But yeah, there is a trick to it. If I try to describe it to you now, it's kind of muscle memory. I'd have to come and have a go at it a couple of times. There is, again, John Darling has got a book on bass fishing, and there is a picture of me in the book casting off Splash Point, and it was a perfect cast. It was a perfect circle of the net, splashing as it hits the water. Wicked. But we were catching whitebait. We weren't catching. Oh, great! Yeah, that's the sort of thing. That's the sort of thing I thought I'd have it for. You know, at the end of it's becoming this time of year. Actually, I've always run out of bait. Yeah. So I've got to go and get a couple, 200-300 mackerel. Yeah. As many herring I can get in the winter and put them all in the freezer because I've got nothing at the minute. I've used it for my shark jam and all that. But that's why I sort of bought it for, and never managed to sort of learn the art. Well, I'll get mine out and we'll have a practice, and I'll show you how to do it. Yeah, that sounds good. That'd be fun. All you're doing is you're just trying to get it to spin as it goes out, so the centrifugal force of all the weights, all the little weights, spread it out so that it hits the water. I might practice my ballet before then and see if I can. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to remember how to do it. You take hold of the thing, you pull it up to one hand, and then you you bring it around like that, so you've got like a skirt. Yeah. And you throw it in a circular motion, so all the ones that are down here in the skirt fly out as it's going out, and then if you get a perfect one, it lands. Okay, I'll have to give that a go. Yeah. That might be quite useful. So we talked about fishing, we talked about boats. I want to hear about one of your red letter days, which you on the boat that you absolutely remember just to be the most epic day, which you'd love to repeat. Oh well. There's been so many, to be honest. There has been so many. It's always good when you can pick. Yeah, but this year, I've been out on my own. I'd been fishing out on a piece of rough ground out off New Haven, and I'd had a cracking day. I'd had all the target species that I was looking for. So rays, I think rays were the main target, and I'd had several rays, but I think I probably had a small taupe, gurnards and stuff like that. So I'd had a number of species, and it was getting to the time that I had to get back because the tide. If I left it any later,
you'd be out for another.
I'd be stuck for another 2
Yeah.
hours. I wouldn't be able to get in. So I'm steaming back, and I thought I'd looked at my watch. I thought I've got enough time to drop in on this one wreck on the way back in, and just have a couple of drifts. Okay, so first drift, I had a pollock on, and while I'm fighting the pollock, I can hear this immense splashing going on around me, behind me.
Yeah.
And I looked over behind me, and there was a shoal of bass on the surface. No joke, about half a football pitch size of bass, all busting on the surface. And I could see them under the surface, and they weren't little bass. They weren't schoolies, or if they were sort of in senior school.
Yeah.
Quick! Because I've got this pollock off. Grabbed a spinning rod, because what I've wanted to do is top water. I love catching them on the top water lures.
Yeah.
It's my big passion is catching bass on top water lures because it's so explosive. I got a top water lure on, first cast, bang, I was into a bass. Beautiful, cracking fight. Landed it, and I think I put it back. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I put it back. Cast that again, had another one, which came off, and then I thought, I've got to get back in. I've got to get back in. I've had a bit of fun. So I headed back in, got into the harbour, couldn't get on my mooring. Just couldn't get on it. I was literally got the engine tilted up at about 90 degrees. So it was just about chugging me forward. It was liquid clay coming out of my telltale, and I'm not going to get in. So I've got a choice now. Do I fish? Do I anchor up here and wait for 2 hours, or do I go back out fishing for 2 hours?
Easy decision, really. Isn't it?
Really difficult decision.
Yeah.
But it got more complex than that because. And it's the days like this where it's complicated. I get my phone rings, and as I'm trying to get out of the harbour, and it's an old mate of mine. I haven't spoken to ages, but I did, screened it.
Yeah.
Because I'm still struggling to get out.
Yeah,
of the
that's
mud.
it. I'm busy.
Yeah. So I got out of the mud and I'm coming up the river. So I phoned him back and I said, hello. He said, how you doing, Treacle? I said, I'm doing all right. He said, yeah. I said, where are you? I said, I'm in New Haven Harbour. He said, yeah, we're out at sea. I said, where? He said, we're off Brighton. We've broken down.
Oh, no.
So I said, okay, that's a bit sad then. He said, no, not Brighton. No, we've broken down off New Haven.
He hasn't found you probably for years, but he's my friend now. I need to tow.
So I said, whereabouts off New Haven? He said, we're out right in front of the mouth. And I'm looking down the channel. I can't see any boat off the mouth, so I can't see you. I said, if you saw me, you'd see, if you looked up the mouth of the river, you'd see me coming towards you.
Yeah.
So he said, oh no, maybe we're not actually at the mouth. We're off to the left a little bit. So, okay. And at that point, I saw this boat off the end of the east arm. So I went over and it was my mate. It had broken down.
Yeah.
And as I'm approaching him, I get a phone call from Aaron Simpson. I go, what's going on here?
Everyone wants me.
He says, it's Aaron. He said, one of our customers has broken down out at sea. What are you doing? I said, well, I'm just about to him now. I'm just about to save him. So anyway, I rescued him, got him back in. Still couldn't get on my berth. So I thought, I'm going to have to go back out and have another go at this bass. So having rescued them and having wasted an hour, of prime fishing time.
Fishing time with that.
Prime fishing time. I went back out onto this thing and they were still there.
Oh, wow.
And I just had and I was trying each lure in my box. So I'd try one lure, have a fish on it, swap it over, put another lure on, and I put the third lure on, which I thought, well, I'm going to try this. It's an Espetito, which has got a beautiful action on the top water. And they'd vanished. They just vanished.
Really?
And I sat there for about half an hour going,
where the hell have they gone?
Where are they gone? They've just gone back down. They've just gone back down on the wreck or whatever.
Yeah.
Tide has just started to flow.
Yeah, it's amazing how they're funny species bass, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're really odd. Yeah, see, top water but lures I've done a bit of at Bexhill actually.
All right.
Have you ever been to the reef down there?
No.
I say you littered with bass. It used to be,
Yeah.
and the last 2 years just haven't managed to get quite as many. I say that. I mean, I think I had about 10 on my last session, which isn't bad, you know. But I used to have days where you might have 40 fish. But it might just be that the weather not been as settled. But the top water is it's great to watch.
See, I think by the time I've got to about 10 fish, I've had enough. I'd look for something else.
Yeah, actually, funnily, we were black breaming on a wreck the other week.
Yeah.
And I caught some real some nice bottoms, about £2. And I just they become like mackerel in the end. I just
No, they there are some people who think they're a nuisance. I think they're a lovely fish, black bream. I really do. And,
well, on the light gear,
an eating fish, you can't get a better than black bream.
Yeah,
my favourite eating fish.
Okay. I find
nicer
them very
than bass.
fishy. They're a proper fish bream, like fishy fish.
No,
I find.
I mean, they don't taste that way. They taste nice.
You're quite into your catch and cook and that sort of thing.
I do a bit of catch and cook. I've done a few videos of catch and cook. I had some weaver fish the other day and ate them. They were nice.
Yeah, a lot of people say weavers are meant to be delicious, but
I honestly don't think that there's any fish that I would describe as being delicious.
Yeah, it's a fish.
No, that's a nice eating fish. Perhaps how you prepare it and what sauce you put with it would make it a delicious fish. But then that's not the fish. I don't like to faff around my fish. I try and do it the simplest way I can.
Yeah, I'm like that. Yeah.
And as I say, bream. Someone showed me a way to do bream, which I've done in the past. You don't take the scales off it. You rub butter back underneath the scales.
Oh, okay.
And then you just bake them in their own scales, and the scales all froth up and become like a crust. And then you just put a fork on them and just peel this whole crust off, and then you've got the fish to eat. And it's been cooked in its own tin foil.
I might try that.
Yeah.
You could probably try that with bass, actually, maybe.
I've tried it with bass, and it doesn't seem to work like it does with bream. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're longer fish or something. I don't know. But
yeah, maybe their scales don't stick out as who knows. But okay, yeah. What's your biggest bass you've ever had?
11 £11 and it was about an ounce off £12.
Oh, it's a very nice fish. Yeah, because a double. I've not had a double figure bass. Was that on live bait? Was it or?
Yeah, I think it was live baiting.
Yeah. I've got to do some more of that this year. Because I mean, I think our area actually for bass fishing is probably one of the best in the south. I would say.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, there's some incredible fishing. Yeah. I don't know if you do much on the ledges, but
I fished the ledges this year. I've always not bothered with it. I always wreck fish for them. And what I always found, and to be honest, Jake, I don't go bass fishing now. Really, I don't. I've done bass, and I'd rather go out and catch several species and have a day, go and target things and catch them.
Yeah.
And then maybe finish the day with a bass for the table on the way back.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I used to be bass. All I wanted to do was go bass fishing. And what I always used to say was, until June, you'll catch bass consistently on lures, but from June onwards, you had to live bait for them. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's certainly what we always used to say. And that would coincide with the arrival of the little mackerel. So you look for little joeys.
That's what they're after, really, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, we caught some on the deep divers at Bexhill a few weeks back, but. Yeah, not quite as many. I did try a live bait, but it's the patience thing for me. You know, you've got to be patient with a live bait.
Well, I used to fish. I always used to fish live bait on the drift over wrecks. So it's no different to drifting with lures. In fact, it's easier because you're not having to wind the thing in. Yeah. So you'd go down, you'd go up tide of the wreck, you'd drift back, you'd drop your live bait down, and I used to fish it on a paternoster. So a lead on a bit of rotten bottom, about a foot up. You'd have 3-way swivel. And maybe 3 or 4 foot of trace with a big hook on it and your live bait, and you'd hit the wreck and you'd literally go dong and wind it up, and then all the way along, all you'd be doing is going dong and feeling it and just making sure you're in contact with the wreck, boom, and just every so often, and then you get a bang, and then you get a take. Yeah,
I was going to say, the initial bang, you got not with a strike, have you?
No, because they come along and they actually hit it with their gill rakers. Quite often.
Stun it.
So sometimes you get a bang and wind in it, and you'd get the mackerel up, and his head was damaged.
Yeah,
been banged by the bass.
Yeah, something I've got to do a bit more of really, because you can do that without a float, can't you? You can just hold it.
What's that? Sorry.
Without a float, you can do it.
It was just on a rod tip. I just used it on a rod tip. I was drifting. The boat was to float.
Yeah.
You know, so with a little boat like yours, the other thing to do with a little boat, and I used to do this kayaking with prawns, fishing with prawns.
Yeah, I was going to say live prawns could be lethal.
Yeah, and you can fish right in close, sort of 8 or 9 foot.
Yeah, I'd imagine around Cookme is probably quite good for that. Yeah. So
and all up underneath Seaford Head and all the way up along under the Seven Sisters on those reefs.
Yeah, I might try a bit of bassing, live baiting in the winter. Actually, just giving a little shot. I mean, it's not quite as productive, but it'd be interesting.
See, again, this is a change. It used to be that bass weren't there in the winter. There was a resident shoal of beachy head bass who were very isolated, but the main body of bass had all cleared off. But it all seems to have changed now. They seem to be there all the time. So.
Yeah. I know people who caught quite a few nice ones at Seaford in December on lures.
Yeah.
So they are there, it's just got to give it a go, I suppose, and give it a go and see what happens. Yeah. But so you're sort of you'd like to move the boat to somewhere else to give it another go at some point.
Well, I love Cornwall. I'd go to Cornwall. In fact, I'm hopefully going to go down in a couple of weeks. I'd love to have my own boat in Cornwall. The only thing about Cornwall is that it is a different shore. It is, you do need to know what you're doing. There's some very dangerous reefs off Cornwall.
Oh, they just appear out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, the manacles off where you were fishing.
Yeah, I know that well.
That just appears, as you say, and so it's those rocks are sitting just under the surface.
Yeah, that's it. Because we when we went down on my sonar, you couldn't preload the charts.
Right.
So I had Navionics, and I know it a bit there anyway, so I know where to avoid. But there's some which can catch you out.
Yeah.
Also, the kayak, it doesn't matter, but on the boat you have got to be careful. And there was a few surprises where we come up with, that's a bit more shallow than I thought.
Yeah.
It's a funny place in Manacles because every time I've gone there, I've done all right. But a lot of people really struggle. It's one of them blazers, I think, which it's either on or off.
Yeah, I fished the Manacles with Austin, and I've had some good results there. Casting lures, casting fish black minnows.
We had nice bass and pollock. Streaks gurnard, which I was gutted because I didn't record it on my species card. Streaks gurnard.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, not many come up.
No.
And we just with the sidewinders, got it in, and I thought, it's a weird looking gurnard. Yeah. But I just assumed that it was a funny looking red.
Right, yeah.
Got a nice photo because it was decent size. It looked a bit different.
Okay.
So I went, that's a streak gurnard.
Never even heard of one of those.
No, that's it. So, if I lose by one fish, I'll be kicking myself.
Well, I've done the same. We've got a species competition going at the moment, and we had a bloody garfish on the boat the other day, and I photographed it, put it back, and went, I never took a picture with a card.
Oh, no. Is that with the Sussex one, or is it?
No, it's for New Haven Deep Sea Anglers. So it's got our own little species comp at the moment. Okay. I was winning it, but I got a feeling that I've been knocked off my perch.
Yeah. How many species you won for this year?
How many am I on for this year?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. I think I was on about 17, but I might be wrong.
Is that all species, or you got a card and you got to get certain ones? Or
no, it's all species basically. We've got a card with majority of species on, but if anybody comes up with something that's not on there, we just add it to the bottom of the list.
Okay, so you could actually try and do some LRFing and really smash it out.
Yeah, well, that's definitely in the cards.
Yeah,
I might try and do that.
Yeah, because I've got a few little things I need to catch, and I New Haven, I know I can get them, but it's whether because you can't anchor that channel, and it's definitely a no.
Well, you can't fish in it.
No, not really.
No, I got told off.
You actually can't. Oh, on a boat, you're not allowed to. Oh, okay.
No, I got a New Haven Deep Sea Angler boat that's fishing in the mouth of the harbour.
not me.
That would be me then.
Yeah. Yes, I'll move away.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that now. Go away.
Oh dear. Yeah, I was hoping to get under the under those sort of bollard type things, right? You know where it is, an LRF spot, trunk right in. But I think it'll have to be a trip to Swanage or something to get those.
Yeah.
Just give it a go. I mean, I don't know if you find this, but the species angling, if you're a bit competitive, I don't know if you are, but it can take you away from what you actually want to do sometimes.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, a red letter day for me is if I've had 9 or more species in a day, and that includes the mackerel and the scad and the whatever.
So you're more of a species out. You enjoy different stuff.
I do like catching different fish now. As I say, I always used to be. I was targeted on bass. I was focused on bass, but I could come out and have a day, and I've had a number of species, and I've tried for them as well and got them.
Yeah, isn't that a lovely feeling when you plan the trip the day before or a week before? Sometimes you go, that's what I want to catch, and you go out and you get absolutely nail it, and you go,
And you've gone to. No one's told you to go and fish this mark. You've looked at the chart and go, I bet there's rays on that. And that looks like a real ray spot.
Yeah.
And you've gone off and you've caught rays off it, and you go.
I got that feeling when I tried for my turbid actually.
Yeah. I
just saw some banks which were just before the shipping lanes. And I thought I can do those on a good day, you know.
Yeah.
We got 1 or 2, and it was just It's just a little confirmation of what you're doing is right, and you're not as stupid as some might think. But
I mean, the turbot have defeated me this year. I have not given it a great go, but I have gone a couple of times and not had one. So
I'm sure
I have to try them again.
Yeah, I'm sure one will pop up at least when you're expecting it.
Yeah. I mean, the trouble is they are a targeted fish, aren't they? So the trawlermen and everything are on them.
Oh yeah, all the time. I find up your way actually. There's a lot more beam trawlers than down at Eastbourne, but then there's more sand. They can't go over the reef down our way. So Eastbourne's quite good in that sense. It's quite protected. Obviously, a lot of lobster pots, but they don't affect the fishing. Eastbourne's got a good mix of ground, But,
I mean, I found some reefs the other day which I've never really bothered with because they're quite inshore, but they definitely hold fish. Because we had a cod, bass, garfish off them, and we were only there for about half an hour. And I thought, if I had baits, there'd be black bream on here. Who knows what else is on here?
Yeah, I quite like those little ones because people don't fish them.
No, well, strangely enough, there was a licensed boat turned up while we were there and was fishing it, and I thought, kind of confirmation here that he obviously knows that as one of his little pet, end of the day places to go in and try and get his bag up.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, and there was a lot of fish showing up on the fish finder.
Yeah,
loads of fish on one.
It's always good when you find a new mark. I remember going along out of Eastbourne, and there was a couple of boats on a mark. Yeah, and I thought, I don't think there's much there, so I marked it. I thought I'll come back another day just to see what they're fishing for. And it turned out that that's their pouting mark to get the live baits. Yeah. But the ground is it's not too rough, so they don't lose gear. So you can drop the weight and you sort of leave it, pout. So I thought, that wasn't very exciting. But if I'm going for a conger trip, that's the first place I go, and you can get pouting after pouting.
Was it out of Newhaven or out of Eastbourne?
Out of Eastbourne.
Okay, because there is a rock out of Newhaven which the locals call Conger Rock, which is where they all go for their pouting.
Okay. Yeah, we've got. See, I don't know if you've ever heard of Charlie's Rock. Now that's off of Eastbourne. I believe that they dumped a load of rock, and that's what I've never fished it, never been over it, but I'd imagine that helps fish.
Yeah,
so never been there, but that's something I'd like to just try one day. But it's just so many marks you want to give a go.
Well, you go and give it a go today, and it get no fish on it, and you go, I won't ever go back there again. I mean, there was a wreck that for years I said, well, I've had a couple of goes, there's no fish on it, and it's now my go-to wreck.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I will go and hit this wreck, and I've had some cracking action off it.
Yeah, yeah.
And bass and pollock and cod, and yet I would have told you 10, 20 years ago, it's been fished out.
Yeah, it just shows, doesn't it? Sometimes they just get repopulated.
Yeah.
But
I just don't think that. I think I just didn't. It became a self-fulfilling prophecy. I didn't catch any fish in it, so I didn't fish it. So
there's places like that off Eastbourne where I ignore, but some people go, it's been great today.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it, I should just stop there,
Yeah.
And I sometimes find that the marks which produce, all of a sudden 1 or 2 days in a row they don't.
Yeah.
And you leave it for 2 years.
Yeah.
And you go back there and it's good again.
Yeah.
And it's just it's having that sort of. Do you have a logbook?
No, I started out doing that. I ought to. I mean, John Darling used to do that religiously, and he could go back 10 years ago. This location, and he got a lot of fish because of it.
Yes.
Keeping a diary is a very good idea.
Yeah, I wish I had done that from the very beginning. Yeah. With pressures, tides, conditions, because then on days you're struggling, actually you can go back and go, well, what was I catching this year? But then that's the joy about the YouTube videos.
I was going to say that YouTube is my diary. Is I can look back or you get reminded because you post something on Facebook. Another one, post something on Facebook and it'll say, "Do you remember? You recollection of a year ago this." Oh, blimey!
I do.
Yeah, let's go back there and do that again.
Yeah,
I didn't realise it was this time of the year. We'll have to go and have a go.
Yeah, give it a go. Yeah. So with the YouTube, obviously we'll finish up in a little bit, but do you? Obviously, let's face it, we do lose fish with the filming.
Yeah,
I find.
Oh, I've lost loads.
Yeah, you're trying to get the camera on, trying to get ready. But something I want to ask you, because I ask every YouTuber this because it's quite interesting. Do you find you make a better video solo or with someone else?
I think probably I make a better video when I'm on my own.
That's 100% the people which have said that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think if you win it, I mean, the other side of that coin is the match angling videos that I do for Tony's Tackle. Is that I've said I'm not going to fish if I'm filming, because I make a much better video if I'm going around talking to people and filming them fishing.
Yeah.
If I'm fishing, both suffer.
Yeah.
You know, and actually I do normally do quite well in the videos where I am filming and I'm fishing, because I'm not watching my rod tip. I'm talking to other people, and you come out and wind it in as fish on.
Fish on, yeah.
But no, I think. I mean, I don't know. I quite like watching videos of myself. I don't know, maybe it's some sort of Adonis thing or whatever it is. But I quite like, because I quite like watching. Oh, blimey! I didn't realise I said that all the time. Or, oh, look at that. Or, you know, yeah. So I learn a lot from watching myself.
Yeah.
But I do think that because you are your producer, aren't you? When you're filming and you got the camera on, here we go, got a fish on.
Yeah, I think I always talk more sense when I'm on my own.
Yeah.
You know, a few fishing trips we've been on with my mate Will, and I look back and think, why didn't I just concentrate on the filming 20% more?
Yeah.
Because I come back, I don't know if sometimes you download the footage and you think, it's just not as good as I would have hoped.
I said the best that I've found, and we can test this if you like or something. You go out with two YouTubers and you both film the session. Yeah. And then you compare the videos, and their trip out is completely different to yours.
Yeah, I find that. Yeah. See, I always, when I first used to go out with Ben. Yeah. Obviously, we're both two usually both filming. Yeah. I always used to try and film both fish. Yeah. But now, what I've worked out, if you just film your own fish, it's actually a lot better.
I mean, I will film.
You film a little bit.
Fish, yeah. But if they've got a big rod on, the rod's good bending, turn it around and film it and whatever. Yeah.
But yeah, you suddenly get two totally different sides of the video. It's always interesting. I always think whether people watch both of them or they don't watch, one or two. But to be fair, you've always got a very steady, similar rate of views, haven't you? Really, for different videos, or do you find certain videos do better than others?
Oh, I've got a couple of videos that have really, really done well. And they're bizarre ones. I did a beginner's guide to mackerel fishing about 3 years ago, and that is growing and growing and growing and growing and growing.
Do you know what? The beginners stuff, anything which I've done for beginners has done so well. Yeah. You know, I've got on a beginners for outboards, starting it, connecting up a field line. It's really basic. Yeah. 25,000 views. Yeah. And I think,
but I mean, that's what people are going on YouTube to look up.
People want to learn.
And I do. I go onto YouTube. How do we do this? I'll see if there's anything on YouTube about it. And then you'll get something that's really, really... If you get one that's too advanced, you kind of go...
Yeah, it's just too much.
I went on about doing a podcast, because you're doing today, so I went on to YouTube to see what they recommend for a podcast. And this bloke went into I thought, no, that is so complicated. And he had lights all over the place and 3 cameras on, and a thing that where while he's talking to, he can go and change the cameras. And
amazing.
I mean, he had one of these, and he talks about a roadcaster on it.
Yeah, I can do so much more on that, which I don't do. But I think sometimes I just rather get into talking about the fishing and just really in detail. I think sometimes the technology takes over, and it can be a bit too much.
I mean, the one thing that I've learnt from YouTube, and the hardest thing to do, is sound.
Yeah, I know. We've funnily enough, you can hear my dogs now. First time ever.
It's time to finish then.
They said it's time to finish, which we will do. Sound's really tricky. Yeah. Because the GoPro are just awful, generally speaking. Bit of water in the mic, and that's that. It always takes a while for it to clean and clear up. The wireless mics, a bit of rain, and they're not very good.
And also they run out of battery.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, so because you've got the mic on all the time, but you're switching your camera on and off, you may be fishing for 6 or 7 hours, suddenly you've got no sound.
Yeah.
Or you come to edit the film and go, where's the sound gone?
Damn it. Yeah, that's one thing I've got to get better at. That's why I got some quite good mics for this. And they're probably too sensitive now, because you can hear them dogs. But that will probably leave us a perfect opportunity to say thank you very much for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Hopefully we'll get fishing at some point. That'll be really good. And I normally give everyone a present. I just forgot to bring it up.
I have chickens.
You have chickens. Well, that's perfect. You already knew. So that's perfect. You don't want any more eggs, because you know.
Because I struggle to eat what we do get.
Yeah, I get 6 a day, and I struggle. I try to eat 5 a day in the morning. It just doesn't quite work.
Well, it just binds you up. You never go to the toilet again.
No, that's it. Yeah. So one thing I'll ask you, just one last thing. One of the speaking to all boat anglers out there, what's one of your best tips you can give? This could be fishing, it could be anchoring, it could be anything. Anything for boaters, top tip.
I mean, I don't give up. don't give up. Just because you've gone out and had a blank or whatever, everyone has blanks. Speak to people. I mean, actually, the top tip is keep a diary. That is a real good top tip, and I don't follow it myself.
No, well, that's something well, let's both try from today to keep a diary.
Yeah,
I
won't bother.
In a year's time, I'll say I've not done it, you've not done it, but all of our viewers have, and they're outfishing us. So
that's good. And I'd be well happy with that. If people said, we watched your vlog the other day or last year, and I've kept a diary, and my fishing's improved immeasurably since then. Great, I'm happy for you.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like when I take people out on the boat. If I put them on the fish, I'm happy.
Yeah, as a skipper, funnily enough, that's I always find I concentrate more on getting them fish than I do myself. Yeah, and they always catch more than me, but that's because I'm concentrating on
doing
them
catching, getting the boat in position, knocking around the cameras, doing all those things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like wrecking, for example. You're resetting their drift all the time. I'd rather get them fish, and they're happy.
I mean, I did that for years. That's all I did for years was drifting wrecks. And the last couple of years, I've gone out and dropped an anchor and go, this is so good. But then after about an hour, I'm getting bored now. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, I've got to start doing a bit more anchoring, because that's something I don't really do or much of. But pleasure for you to come on the show. Thank you very much.
Well, now you've got a new anchor, you see.
Yeah, that's it. Something that hopefully won't trip as much as my other one does. Cheers, Tris. Much appreciated. And if you're on YouTube, go to Fishing with CJ or Sea Fishing with CJ. I'll tag his link below.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Cheers.